Yo, what's up? It's your boy Randy Lee Roberts, fresh off a nighttime meditation in my blue ass apartment out here in Phuket, Thailand. And I want to piggyback off of yesterday's output because I'm looking at this and I'm going to recap this all together in a couple outputs from now, how this is all like kind of a process for like my creative process and what I'm thinking through. But yesterday I was talking about the reason why I get started at all when I'm the most motivated and why I'm the most motivated to get started at all. And you should check that one out if you haven't. And because that piggybacks directly into this one, which is getting started creating, whether I'm creating a new version of myself or I'm creating something or starting some new endeavor that I've never started before. And I love this process. And I think that the art of learning is like the art of life. I mean, I think a couple things. I think determining the best way that works for you to learn something is essential, and constantly refining that process is super huge, for one thing. And then I think figuring out how to ask the best questions so that you can learn the most efficiently and you can learn the best way. I think those two things are so important to this portion of the process, and actually the entire process, because ideally, you're never really mastering anything. I think you're mastering yourself. I think self-mastery is the only kind of mastery. I don't feel like I've mastered a thing in my life. I've gotten pretty good at some things, but I don't feel like I'm a master of anything. But around, attempting to get as good as I can at certain things, or, attempting mastery, there's some steps that I take pretty repeatedly. I was really intrigued by this concept, and still intrigued. But a few years back, I've heard a lot of my favorite people say, that success leaves clues. And one of the first things that I do is whatever my given endeavor is, like, for right now, I'm looking at, blogging and vlogging and kind of telling stories with the camera. And this is a new medium for me. So, I start looking at what the best of the best do. I start looking at, immediately I go look at like, okay, who's crushing it in the game? Who's got the best looking content to me? And it depends on what your objective is, really. It's like, if I wanted to see who was making the most money off of this, I would look at what that guy does. If I want to see who's got the best looking stuff, I want to go look at what that guy or girl does. It just depends on what your objective is specifically. You sort of have to know that. And again, that relates to yesterday I'm talking about. Like, I come up with this idea that like, I can see myself kind of doing this thing already, and there's a big part of it I don't know how to do already. Well, we live in a time that's just amazing. In the palm of your hand, you have the sum of all of the knowledge of mankind and access to every single person on the planet, and access to evidence that leads you to, figuring out or reverse engineering how anyone does pretty much anything. I mean, it's just mind-blowing to me right now. So that's what I do. Is the first thing I do is I go check it out. Like, once I have the idea that I want to do something or I want to get good at something, I go find the best people and I go like really take a good look at what they do. It's not always the same, but there are there's definitely a procedure breaking it down, looking at all the elements involved and breaking it down. I mean, piece by piece, frame by frame. If it's video, for instance, if it's a web page, pixel by pixel, just really examining what they do. And better yet, if you're able to figure out how to talk to these people, or someone that's maybe half successful as them, or someone that has experience with what it is that you're trying to do, talk to them, ask them. 9 times out of 10, people love to share their knowledge. They love to share the wealth of their knowledge. They love to be mentors. They love to be experts. People love to share what they know. these days, it's more and more common for people to be leaving clues behind on videos because it generates content and it gives you access to the person more frequently. So depending on the medium, 9 times out of 10, they have, YouTube videos online talking about what they do. But if they don't, I mean, shoot, you could try to email just about anyone. And it's really true. It's really, really true. For me personally, I was starting as a music producer. I was learning, just like everybody else starts, by watching YouTube videos online, and then I stumbled across this dude, Ill Gates. If you've never heard of him, I know it's quite a name, but Ill Gates created all these incredible tutorials online, and I started to learn how to do everything from him. And long story short, as fate would have it, he wound up being a friend of mine, and he crashed at my house for a few nights, and I got hands-on lessons to him, and he's taught, he's one of the biggest guys in that game, and I had him staying at my house for a while. So I mean, and I'm not, I'm just a regular, whatever. I'm out there trying just like everybody else is, and the stuff that I got to learn from him one-on-one was incredible. And he's one of my favorite brains. You should go check him out. He's like an art hacker. Just YouTube Ill Gates. He's always thinking about the next level for music and art. And he's a really, really cool guy. But I digress. The point is, there's always a way to reverse engineer success. And that comes from studying people that already have what you're after, or have already done something close to what you want to do. If you're merging some two ideas or merging some new fields or whatever, there's always somebody that you can study the patterns and look at what they've done, talk to them and ask them, reach out to them and see if they would be willing to talk to you or answer a couple questions. And then beyond that, learning how to reverse engineer a backwards plan from a goal or from a vision is like super, super useful. And all of that boils down to learning how to steer your individual moments towards the thing that you're after. And again, I've said it in other videos, I really believe that your actions are a language. I believe that you're spelling out in reality what you want and who you are and what you deserve and what space you occupy with what it is you are doing on a daily basis, what you're reading, who you're talking to, the actions that you're making, the things you're creating on a moment-to-moment basis. So when you're studying these things, you're taking action. You are, just by studying. And looking at what they've done and reverse engineering, and then visualizing that for yourself. What would that take? It prepares you in a very unique way that sets you up to occupy your moments and create things a lot more effortlessly. Look, these days there's no reason to invent, the wheel. There's a million tutorials online for how to make a wheel. So just don't do it to yourself. Do it smart, look at it, start looking around. And that's the other thing, is if you have an inclination towards something, if you even just feel like you might want to be doing something, once I get that itch, then where I would take my time to scroll through some bullshit or, entertain myself in other ways, I'm looking at videos about that thing and seeing if it really looks like something that's sustainable for me, something that really speaks to me, something that I can, get behind. So you have a really cool opportunity to try on a lot of new perspectives, midway in, or get a real taste for what it's like to do, whatever it is that you think you might want to be doing. And it's cool. It's such a cool time. I can't believe how cool this time is. That's pretty much, the idea for today is that I really believe that success leaves clues. I'm studying all these guys, what they do with their videos. I'm looking at After Effects stuff. I'm messing with my camera. I'm reading my camera manual for the B-roll. I'm thinking about ways to create, some smaller videos that are compact philosophy, visual art, and musical art, and learning how to communicate better through this medium. I'm constantly reading and getting ideas and writing down ideas, and it's been awesome. It's been awesome. This output thing has been great, and I'm definitely using what I'm talking about today to fuel and create and generate this very thing itself. So that's pretty much it for today. Tomorrow I'm gonna slap you with a whole new output, and I'm really excited about that one because it's deep. It's sort of the intersection of meaning and the moment, and I'm always talking about that, but I'm really excited to sort of share some thoughts that I've been collecting about that. And then once I get through this process, I want to pair all of this with technology somehow, and technologies that exist, and keep that conversation going. What I mean by that is finding apps that sort of assist with these various stages and kind of create some hacks, and hopefully work with some friends that are paying attention to these things, and finding some more things that are useful towards these ends, because I really believe this is it. Like, creating yourself and getting involved and creating myself and kind of opening up this platform and talking about this stuff is really helping me, figure out the best way to do it for me. And if it helps even one other person checking this stuff out, then awesome. That's really all I could ask for. So until next time, I hope all is grand. Talk to you soon. Thanks.